All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Chicago Reacts. My name is Kit. It's a late evening show. I hear more people start tuning in and coming on in here because we got ourselves the eater of worlds himself, the man of peace and wisdom, the kind and oh so forgiving ANGRON. You know, that guy, the one with the butcher's nails in his head. Yeah, him. When we last left off, he left his legion and he was hiding because ANGRON was feeling deep sad. Because everyone forgets, like, at the end of the day, how do you think you would feel if you had the butcher's nails in your skull? And don't worry, even yours truly will come face to face with the great ANGRON, the Eater of Worlds, for a head-crushing showdown. You won't believe it till you see it. So grab yourself a tasty snack and a tasty beverage for all the people tuning in. Adapt as free Manicus. Tell all the people, hey, we're live. We're live. We're live here. Let's play this video in a 3, a 2, and an uno and out.
He may have been fighting the Emperor's crusade, and he wasn't leading his true brothers, the ones who died alone on Nuceria. But for the first time in decades, ANGRON felt invigorated. This is what was missing. The butcher's nails were the missing link, the link that would finally build the bond of ANGRON and his world eaters.
I would not. Why would you do this? No, I don't want to have those nails in my skull, Father.
He had ordered Golan Surlak, a seasoned world eater's apothecary, to replicate the butcher's nails for mass production. And he made it known to the world eaters that when they were able to produce them, he expected everyone in the Legion to undergo the surgery.
No.
Many of the world eaters shared ANGRON's enthusiasm for the butcher's nails. They believed that if they were to receive the implants, they would finally be able to relate to their gene father. They would only concentrate on what mattered. They were supposed to be the weapon of the Emperor.
No.
Leave the statesmanship and world building to the Ultramarines.
Hail Ultramar.
Leave the care and compassion to the Salamanders.
The big green guys.
The World Eaters would be the bloody axe of the Imperium. Surlak was brilliant and proficient in everything that he did, but he was mystified by the butcher's nails. The technology wasn't terribly different from other augmentations that he had seen, but getting it to interface with a living brain proved to be extremely challenging. And his attempts at duplicating the nails failed miserably. He made multiple attempts, but none of the world eaters who were subjected to the surgery survived. The Great Crusade continued for years, and Golan continued tweaking his prototypes. He tried new methods of implantation, different incision points, but nothing worked.
Well, yeah, because you're putting nails in people's brains. No, there comes a point like, hey, look, hey, Pops, I guess we can't relate to you after all.
At the same time, the World Eaters continued to fail in bringing worlds to compliance in 31 hours, and as ANGRON's patience began to evaporate, their next campaign proved to be a tipping point. An Imperial world known as 9315 had gone quiet, and Terra had not received any communication from it in many years. The call was sent out to investigate, and it was the World Eaters who answered. Following a brief investigation, the World Eaters determined that the humans on 9315 were killed. In their place, xeno life forms masquerading as humans settled on the planet, referring to it as Genna. Upon being notified of the situation, ANGRON ordered the compliance campaign. Unlike other campaigns, however, ANGRON stayed on the ship and left the fighting to his legion. And the consequences that came from what happened on Genna are still being felt to this day. Thousands of world eaters descended upon Genna and marched towards the city gates. Led by Centurion Majo, they were prepared to fight Xeno resistance, but they were surprised to find no enemies at all. Instead, the people of Genna walked towards the Astartes with their hands at their sides. They had no weapons, no shields, nothing. No emotion shone across their faces as they walked towards the World Eaters. The World Eaters were more confused than alarmed, but that would soon change.
Why would you guys listen? No, that's when you start shooting right away.
As the Gennans marched towards the 12th Legion Astartes, They quickly found themselves overwhelmed. They weren't attacking, but there were so many of them that the World Eaters started to get weighed down by their sheer numbers. Realizing that they were soon to be trampled by the millions of Genins that were flooding the streets, they made a decision.
And for one of the last times, a World Eater would utter these words. Centurion Majo spoke into his Vox unit.
For the Emperor, and for ANGRON.
The Astartes warriors began butchering the Genins in the street, attacking them at will. Bolter fire, las rifle blasts, power spears. They brought forth the full force of their arsenal. But
see, right here, it's abundantly clear. You know, all the World Eaters wanted to do was have a relationship with their Gene Father. But it was never meant to be, and one must wonder what would have happened. Would the Emperor have at least allowed ANGRON to have his vengeance?
it made no difference. There were millions of Genins marching upon them, and there was nothing that they could do to slow them down. 31 hours became 15. 15 became 1. And eventually, a tone sounded within the helmet of every Astartes on Genna's surface. Time was up. They had failed to take the world in 31 hours.
No.
And were once again faced with decimation. The World Eaters stood silently in front of their Primarch. No one dared to utter a word. The air in the hall was thick with nervous tension. ANGRON spoke, but it wasn't necessary. Everyone knew what was to come next. 1 out of every 10 World Eaters was to sacrifice their life for their failing. It was a formality that the World Eaters had become all too familiar with. But in a moment that left everyone in the hall utterly stunned, Centurion Majo stepped forward and spoke.
No.
The tension in the room was now suffocating.
Oh, you
Everyone
moron.
in attendance was in complete disbelief.
You moron.
ANGRON stepped closer to Majo and stared down at him with a fiery gaze.
What did you just say?
I mean no disrespect, Father, but we cannot do this. We have already suffered greatly on this crusade. We cannot continue killing our own.
ANGRON took another step towards Majo.
You're brave, Mago. Speaking your mind. Refusing your commander's orders. I doubt anyone else would have the courage to speak so freely.
ANGRON turned away from Majo and slowly walked away.
You and your...
Thank you, Morningstar Bamf. My favorite devil dog. Good to see you live again. Have a good stream, and I hope you are more often. I will. Things have been rough for me lately, but hey, we'll save that for another story. But it's been rough for old Kit Kat. That's all I care to say. It's been very, very rough. And for those that know, spread the word. Marine down in the trenches.
warriors are responsible for this suffering you speak of. I will say it again. 1 in 10. Step forward.
Father, we cannot.
ANGRON kept his composure the first time Majo spoke, but he did not the second time. ANGRON picked up his axe, Widowmaker, and stomped towards the neatly assembled World Eaters. The nails were screaming, and ANGRON swung Widowmaker in a perfect harmony with the nails. He was blind with rage and striking indiscriminately at anyone and everyone. Decimation was one thing, but ANGRON had lost control of his body. He was overcome by violent fury. The World Eaters' librarians feared that ANGRON may kill everyone.
They made a split-second decision to use their psychic abilities to stop ANGRON's rampage.
By channeling a memory within ANGRON's mind, they hoped it could subdue him long enough to end his violent outburst. Memories of ANGRON's past flickered throughout his mind. A long-forgotten vision of a young ANGRON standing in the snow of the Deshayan Mountains was enough to end the slaughter.
All right, thank goodness for the Psychers. I believe the Psychers were the only ones that couldn't get the butcher's nails.
The World Eaters watched in horror as ANGRON fell to his knees and collapsed to the ground. ANGRON wasn't dead, but the psychic interference from the librarians had rendered him unconscious. With their Primarch in a psychic coma, the World Eaters were safe from ANGRON's rage. But the cracks within the Legion's foundation began to show themselves. The 12th Legion were never happy to fail their Primarch. But the fallout from this defeat was different. A divide was forming within the Legion. On one side, there were the Astartes that wanted the Butcher's Nails. They believed it would strengthen their Legion and allow them to become what they were supposed to be. On the other side, there were those who believed that the Butcher's Nails would spell doom for the World Eaters. They argued that if they were to become as mentally and emotionally unstable as ANGRON, that the Legion would completely collapse.
Exactly.
Majo believed the nails were a curse. Karn believed they were a savior.
Karn.
And this was the primary topic of discussion as the two Astartes clanked their axes in the dueling pits of the Conqueror.
You are lucky to be alive after challenging ANGRON the way you did.
Oh, Karn, you
This
Karn.
legion is coming undone, Khan.
It's evolving.
Evolving? Into what exactly? Thousands of us have been killed by our own blades, and all because a world wasn't taken in 31 hours?
It's what our Primarch demands, Mago. Who are we to question him? Every legion has its difficulties, its quirks. Don't forget how long we went without a commander. ANGRON is laying the groundwork for the 12th.
No.
We had a commander, and then he was murdered almost as soon as our Primarch arrived.
Gear was a placeholder. He wasn't a Primarch. Now, I have no ill words to speak of Gear, but I don't think you're giving ANGRON enough time.
Yeah,
I'm
what?
concerned for the future of the 12th. We're slowly dying from these decimations, and now there's talk of giving us all the nails.
It isn't talk. It will happen. They're getting closer to a prototype that can be implanted in all of us.
Then they should be
Yes, exactly. Who think that that's a good idea? Just say, hey, I don't want a nail in my head. Hey, folks, hold on. Hold on. Let's have democracy in the chat. Let's be democratic here. If you were in the 12th Legion, would you get the nails in your head? Hold on. There you go. If you were in the 12th Legion, would you get the nails in your head? Start the poll. There you go.
rejected by all of us. Look at what ANGRON did earlier today. Do you believe that we would benefit from being more like him?
I believe that we should have been victorious on Genna. I believe that if we had the nails, that so many of our brothers that you lament the loss of would still be here.
I'm not arguing that we wouldn't be powerful forces in battle, Khan. It's impossible not to admire what ANGRON does in combat. But there is a life outside of combat. And the nails will destroy that. Our reputation amongst the other legions would be tarnished.
We're not here to maintain a polished reputation. We're here to wage war. To be the sword of the Emperor. Whether we have the nails or not, our mission remains unchanged. Our Primarch believes that the nails will aid us in achieving that mission, and I agree with him.
With the nails, the only thing I see is an existence where we abandoned who we are and become something else.
See, now that makes perfect sense. And also, I'm going to try and keep my pausing to a little bit of a minimum here. But, Majo, you're making some sense. Hey, try and fake your death.
Physical incarnations of rage.
And maybe, Mago, that is exactly what we should become.
You know which one, Mastermind. You know which one I'm talking about.
It had taken Golan Surlak years to get to this point, but he was finally on the verge of a breakthrough. After the failed compliance of Genna, Karn had brought Apothecary Surlak one of the Xeno corpses so he could study it. And after dissecting the body and inspecting it, he learned that the Genin corpse was not a Xeno after all. It was a machine. After running a series of tests, Surlak had determined that the Genins were wired to receive a signal, which meant that the millions of Genins were not marching upon the World Eaters by their own free will. They were being controlled remotely by human minds.
Oh.
Surlak's discovery prompted a hypothesis. If the Genins were not operating under their own control, and their actions were being dictated by human minds, was it possible that there could be a connection to the Butcher's nails? With Angron still in his psychic coma, Surlak was able to study the Primarch's implants more closely than ever before. He spent the next several days poring over the data he had acquired, comparing the information obtained from the dead Genin's body to that of Angron's nails. The results were astonishing. The archaeotech utilized in Angron's implants was nearly identical to the Genin technology that Surlak had been studying. This was it. This was the discovery that he had been hoping for. The missing piece that can ensure his replication successfully interfaced with a living brain. He wasn't 100% certain yet, but if his theory was correct, if the Genin technology was in fact based on the same standard template construct of Angron's nails, then the code had been cracked.
And thus, the fall of the World Eaters would begin.
Surlak immediately went to work, carefully constructing his new duplicate nails to the specifications of the Genin technology. And after days with his head down, working in his lab, his prototype was finished. All that was left was to test them on a live subject. Surlak understood that there would be hesitancy amongst the Legion. Dozens of World Eaters had already died from previous versions of the nails, and there was no guarantee that it would be any different this time. He summoned the Legion to the Triumph Hall of the flagship. Surlak had waited years to make this announcement. The Butcher's nails had arrived. All that he needed was a volunteer. A voice in the crowd of the World Eaters spoke and walked through the gathering of the Astartes. Surlak smiled as his volunteer stepped forward. Karn removed his helmet.
Karn!
And smiled back at Surlak. He was ready for the nails.
Dumbest decision ever, Karn the Betrayer.
With Karn laying on an operating table in the apothecary's lab, a nervous excitement began to build up within Galen Surlak. He was surrounded by medical equipment and buzzing servitors. The surgery was almost complete. A casual eye would not be able to differentiate between Angron's nails and those that Karn was receiving. Sleek, silver cabling wrapped around the back of Karn's head and connected to the nails inside. As the last connection clicked into place, his eyes opened. He was disoriented, unaware of where he was. Beads of sweat formed at the top of his head, slowly dripping down his face. A voice was speaking in the background, but Karn couldn't make out the words. He looked down and saw his hand shackled to the table he was on. Whether it was pure coincidence or a divine event, I'm unsure anyone will ever know. But as the nails began to pulse in Karn's head for the first time, as he lost control of his emotions, ripping the shackles from the bed with terrifying force, Angron suddenly woke up. And this was the moment that the divide in the World Eaters deepened beyond repair. With a reliable production of the Butcher's nails ready for implantation, the World Eaters on one side of the divide stood ready, waiting for their opportunity to receive the gift of their Primarch, while those on the other side of the divide organized a coup. Centurion Majo understood that it was the technology from the dead Genins that led to the creation of the nails, and he
you gotta get out of there, buddy. It's already too late.
believed that there could be more information on Genna, information that could lead to the removal of Angron's nails. If he could get there in time, it was possible that he could save his broken Primarch. The news of Angron's awakening and Karn's successful surgery spread across the World Eaters like wildfire. Majo knew he didn't have much time. He needed to make planetfall to Genna, but as he was soon to learn, it was too late.
Why?
The World Eaters had passed the point of no return. Angron and his new warriors were already on the ground. As more of the Genin machines poured into the streets, they were met with a violent death. Nearly 1,000 World Eaters, with silver cables dangling from the backs of their heads, rampaged the Genin machines. There was no discipline in sight, no plan of attack. The World Eaters, their heads freshly equipped with their new engines of madness, were berserkers. Angron, Khan, and Gowan Surlak hunted down the humans that were controlling the Genin machines.
Why?
And in a spire in the middle of the burning capital city, they found them. When they entered the spire, they found hundreds and hundreds of small machines. They were stacked on top of each other, and each one housed a human. Gall Surlak theorized that the humans on Genna had built these machines to keep themselves alive, and using the technology that was now responsible for mass production of the Butcher's nails, they controlled the proxy humans on the world. Angron looked around the room in disgust.
Kill them all. I don't want a single one of them to survive.
Okay, Angron. Okay.
And with that order, Majo's hope of saving his Primarch died. Majo and his supporters walked down from the ramp of their gunship and stepped foot onto Genna. They couldn't believe their eyes. The World Eaters were unrecognizable, destroying everything in their path. He watched in disgust as one of his crazed brothers swung his sword over and over at a Genin corpse that was long dead. They headed into the city center and found it in shambles. Buildings were on fire. Dead Genin.
All right, time to run to the Emperor and be like, hey, look, Emperor, I can't be with my legion. I'm going to stay with you.
Lined the blood-soaked city streets. And in the distance, Majo saw his Gene Father standing outside of a crumbling spire. He slowly approached him and felt a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach
Why
as
would
his
you
eyes fell
approach?
upon Karn.
Why would you
Cables from
do
the
that?
nails now dangled from the back of his head. The bloodshed and destruction surrounding him was not a compliance campaign. It was a civil war. World Eaters with the nails were pummeling their brothers that rejected the implants, mercilessly slaughtering them and then searching for the next victim as they screamed into the air.
Khan, it didn't have to be this way.
Khan laughed, then turned his head to look into Majo's eyes.
It did have to be this way. There was never going to be another way.
There is no saving me. Angron, your Primarch, died before you even knew he existed. He died on Nuceria. All that's left is the murderer, the bloodthirsty killer that the High Riders created. I've heard enough of your voice, Mago. So if you have any last words you want to say to your pathetic Emperor, speak them now.
He never had a chance to reply. Karn's axe struck Majo at the neck.
Oh, coward.
And as his lifeless body hit the ground, a new chapter of the World Eater's story began.
Ah, Karn, you backstabbed son of a bee.
After what is now referred to as the Second Compliance of Genna, the World Eaters were never the same. The Butcher's nails were being produced en masse, and those remaining that did not have the cybernetic implants wouldn't be without them for much longer. As the World Eaters continued on the Great Crusade, their compliances became more and more ruthless, and as Mago prophesied prior to his untimely death, the reputation of the World Eaters had indeed become tarnished. The constant decimations, the erratic behavior of the World Eaters after having been implanted with the Butcher's nails, attacks on Imperial allies during cooperative campaigns. It was concerning behavior, and the other Primarchs became disgusted with Angron.
Yeah, you think? I think well, maybe Conrad Kurz would be all right. Conrad Kurz was nuts in the head.
Leman Russ feared that Angron was spiraling out of control, and that he was taking his legion down with him. And in a bold act of intervention, Leman Russ confronted Angron about the continued atrocities the World Eaters were committing. Some theorize that the Emperor ordered Russ to intervene, while others believe that Russ took the confrontation upon himself. Regardless of who made the decision, it came as quite the surprise to the Conqueror's bridge crew when their Auspex detected unusual warp activity. Surprise turned to alarm when the Auspex readouts confirmed that the activity was a ship emerging from the warp. The ship that was approaching them
Was the Hrankel.
the Space Wolves flagship. And it wasn't alone. It hadn't been long since the Genin city of Malkoya had been ravaged by ANGRON in the 12th. The city's wounds were still fresh. Blood and debris were still scattered throughout what remained of it. And in the fields just outside of the destroyed capital.
Yes, Conrad Kurz did foresee all of this. But Conrad Kurz... See, the problem with Conrad Kurz is that not only did he have severe bipolar disorder, he had a lot of disorders, man. You know, but if you're raised on a planet where it's eternally night and crime is 100% rampant all over the planet, you know, you're not going to be right at all.
Russ and ANGRON met, each flanked by their legions of Astartes.
Brother, I can no longer sit idle while you destroy your own legion. Murdering your own sons in the name of decimation.
Murder. Eliminating the Legion's weakness is not murder. And who do you think you are to tell me what I should be doing? I don't take orders from you, Russ.
What you are doing is wrong. Compliance is one thing, Angron, but you are committing genocide. Slaughtering in...
Well, hold on. Russ, the pot calling the kettle black. Didn't you destroy... Didn't the Wolves destroy the 2nd and the 11th Legion? I think we all know that. People tend to forget, hey, Russ got his hands dirty. A lot.
Entire worlds of civilians who are attempting to surrender is not furthering the Emperor's cause. Your implants are fueling this lunacy, and it must be corrected. All of us, the World Eaters and the Space Wolves, are to return to Terra so that these implants could be removed.
You act as if the Emperor himself hasn't ordered genocide. You all lie to yourselves and call it compliance? But is there a single world that you or I have liberated during this crusade that had a choice? Comply with the word of the Emperor or die? That is not a choice. That is slavery. But these are the Emperor's orders, brother.
You disgust me, Angron.
Go on your way, Russ. And know that you ever talk down to me with this unmerited dream of authority again, there will be consequences.
I'm so glad that the lion did smack him around.
Both the Space Wolves and the World Eaters could sense that the situation was about to escalate, and the Primarchs could feel their tension. Lehman Russ spoke through gritted teeth.
I'm leaving, but you're coming with us. We're closing the chapter on the Butcher's nails.
I'm going nowhere. You and your rabble of moon-howling cowards are less than an afterthought to me. You lead your legion, and I will lead mine. Why don't you make yourself useful and return to the Emperor's great enslavement crusade?
Your disloyalty is shameful, Angron.
You've spoken enough, Russ. Now you listen to me. You are no more loyal than I am. I have slaughtered countless innocent souls just like you. The only difference...
Of course, Angron sounds angry. Angron is a guy that's got a lot of... And listen, he says, I'll give him this. He has had his moments where he is speaking the truth. And yes, has the Emperor ordered genocide? Absolutely. The God Emperor of mankind, throughout the entire 100-year crusade to reunite humanity, has committed a genocide. I do mean a lot. Yes, the Emperor is a hypocritical person.
Is that I do it in service to the nails, to ease the pain. I follow the Emperor's orders, Russ. But I don't do it under a false pretense of morality. Maybe, if I was as principled and righteous as you, I would have taken our bastard father's skull.
Lehman Russ couldn't hold back any longer. He threw himself at Angron, swinging his chain blade with fury. The two Primarchs parried each other's vicious attacks. Russ was winding up to strike Angron, but he was overpowered by a blow from Angron's Widowmaker. As the two Primarchs stood across from each other, snarling in anger, their legions were suddenly attacking each other. Whether the first strike originated from the Space Wolves or the World Eaters is
Doesn't
unknown,
matter.
but it
Doesn't
didn't
matter.
take long for sheer chaos to ensue. The two legions erupted into violence around the dueling Primarchs. Russ was fully aware that he was outmatched in combat against Angron. He was too strong, too fast, and Angron was so unhinged that he didn't care if he killed his own brother. He didn't pay any attention to what was going on around them, and that was the point that Leman Russ was attempting to make.
Do you understand, Angron? Look at what's happened to your sons.
As Angron took his eyes off his brother, he found himself surrounded by space wolves. In every direction, the sons of Russ had their bolters aimed directly at Angron. Past them, the World Eaters were still engaged in combat and were getting the better of the space wolves.
You should be more concerned about what's happening to your sons, Russ.
Angron, look at your sons. They're so deranged that they don't even realize that you're about to die.
Leman Russ was correct. At any moment, the space wolves surrounding Angron could rip through him with a storm of bolter fire.
Come on,
They're
shoot
too
him!
busy winning the battle to worry about that.
Leman Russ was trying to send Angron a message.
Nope.
He was trying to show him that the butcher's nails weren't the advantage that he thought they were. That blind rage is actually a hindrance. And as Leman Russ lay on the ground, bloodied and bruised from his brother, he realized what many others would soon come to see for themselves. Angron was slowly losing himself to the nails, abandoning what little remaining logic and reason he had left. Russ howled towards the sky, rallying his sons by his side, and they fled towards their Stormbirds. The World Eaters were so caught up in the nails-fueled bloodthirst that they didn't even realize the battle was over until the Space Wolves were gone. Angron laughed, believing himself victorious.
And as the Rankel sailed into the stars,
Leman Russ sat alone, coming to the sobering realization that Angron couldn't be saved.
No, there was no saving Angron. Nope, none. You can never save him.
As fate would have it, Angron wasn't the only Primarch headed down a destructive path. Lorgar,
Oh, yes. Logar. The religious nutcase who thought worshipping the warp is a good idea. Founder of the Imperial religion.
Primarch of the Word Bearers, was pushed towards the ruinous powers of the Dark Gods after being publicly humiliated by the Emperor and Rabute Gilliman. And following the events of Davin, Horus, the War Master and Primarch of the Luna Wolves, was also tempted by the powers of chaos. Lorgar used this opportunity to manipulate Horus, and the seeds of betrayal were sown. After the corruption of Horus, the War Master sought to overthrow the Emperor. And these traitorous ambitions gave birth to the Horus heresy. As the heresy began to take shape, Horus was able to convince half of the other Primarchs to join his cause. There were some Primarchs that needed a fair amount of convincing. Angron was not one of them.
So I asked the question, if Rabute Gilliman found Angron first, would things be different?
It wasn't that Angron stood with Horus. It was that he hated the Emperor. And the heresy was the perfect opportunity to exact revenge on the men who left his brothers and sisters to die on Nuceria. On the planet of Isfan III, Vardis Prol, the corrupt Imperial governor, had suddenly raised his banner in rebellion of the Imperium. Ordered to prevent the uprising, Horus still appeared the dutiful son and called the Emperor's children, the Death Guard, and the World Eaters to his side.
Oh boy, yes, of course, the Death Guard with Nurgle, the Emperor's children, Slanesh, and then, of course, as to spice things up, the World Eaters with Khorne.
And though on the surface it appeared that Horus was fighting in service of the Emperor, he was actually preparing to fire the first shots of a monstrous and vile civil war. Thousands of loyal Astartes landed and set to work slaughtering those who had betrayed the Imperium,
No.
never knowing that the true betrayal had only just begun. Those on the ground at Isfahan had landed with the intent to honor their fathers. Their fathers repaid them with death in the form of virus bombs. For a number of world eaters, even with their brains distorted from the butcher's nails, this was too far. They had been willing to abandon nearly all of their ideals, but they could not go as far as betraying the Emperor. Angron punished them for this refusal. Against the will of Horus, Angron landed 50 companies of World Eaters to kill his remaining loyalist sons. The World Eaters who had rejected the nails had been purged during the second compliance of Genna. The second purging of the World Eaters occurred on Isfahan III, when those that refused to betray the Imperium were murdered. And the last glimmer of hope for the World Eaters died in fire, along with the planet.
Ah. So there, let's see. Hey, listen. Here's the thing. The reason why I'm putting up this poll is because it has been an interesting form of fiction or a fictional story of what would happen if Reboot Gilliman did find Angron first, because Angron's homeworld is just outside the realm of Ultramar. Oh, excuse me. Ugh.
Following the initial battles of the heresy, it was clear that the galaxy would never be the same, and Angron continued to slip further and further from who he once was. As some within the Legion would come to learn, the butcher's nails produced by Garland Serlac were slightly different than Angron's originals. The nails created at scale were simply low-quality copies of the originals. They rewrote emotional responses and caused deterioration in the ability to reason, but they were not lethal. The nails in Angron's brain, however, were. These marvels of Dark Age technology were not designed for use in a Primarch's brain, and the implants were slowly killing Angron. This degradation was difficult to notice initially, but as time passed, the deterioration became more severe, and Angron
Oh, great. So now he's becoming like a proxy Joe Biden, but a little bit crazier.
became even more erratic, unpredictable, and violent. The bond that the World Eaters were so eager to share with their Primarch never materialized. They had truly believed that receiving the Butcher's nails would unify them with their Gene Father. Instead, the already fractured relationship between the World Eaters and Angron crumbled even further. The World Eaters had damaged their own ability to reason and think outside the lines of rage. And Angron was completely broken, a shell of his former self. After the attacks on Isfahan, Angron and Lorgar set off together to execute assaults on the 500 worlds of Ultramar. Erebus and Corferon were to lead a sophisticated attack on Calth, while Angron and Lorgar were to coordinate a similar attack on Armatura. The journey from the Isfahan system to Ultramar was long and would take months to traverse, and Lorgar quickly learned just how difficult the journey was going to be. While en route to Ultramar, the two Legions' flagships stopped off on the world of Turum to refuel and gather supplies. The resupply effort moved quickly, and within 1 week the word-bearers had stripped all of the world's resources. The World Eaters, however, had no interest in the resupply mission. Instead, they remained on world for an additional 10 days, slaughtering the entire population and leaving a path of rubble and ash in their wake. Not long after, a similar incident occurred on the world of Garland Prime. Lorgard sought to send a message to the Imperium by enslaving segments of the population. And once again, Angron and the World Eaters abandoned any thought of cohesion by swarming the surface.
So, okay, oh boy, the World Eaters. So hold on, I reposted a question. If Reboot Gilliman found Angron first before the Emperor, would things be different? All right, now you can vote properly.
And annihilating every living molecule. Angron delayed them 3 more times with off-course, unnecessary stops on worlds irrelevant to their mission. Lorgar's patience with Angron was wearing thin, and he reached his breaking point when the World Eater's flagship broke course and began attacking a small group of Eldari ships. The Eldari ships retreated, and Lorgar made comms.
Gilliman was always a guy for well-planned military strategy. He might have conquered Nuceria while rescuing Angron. I think here's the thing. Let's talk about this conversation here. If Gilliman had found Angron first, because remember, all the Primarchs kind of knew that they weren't alone, but obviously Gilliman, to be clear, had more of a privileged start than his other brothers, and he had built himself a pretty decent empire, 500 worlds. He was able to expand the realm of Ultramar, and if in a scenario, if the Emperor didn't find Angron first, Gilliman finds Angron, and, one or two things happens. Either it's before the Butcher's Nails or even after. I think Gilliman, being who he is, would look at Angron not only as a brother, but see the injustice on Nuceria and try and do things to help Angron. And if there's time, at least before the Emperor even finds both of them together, one can argue that Gilliman, gets through his character, we can assume he would have helped Angron, bring justice on Nuceria and maybe bring it into a better future or something. Perhaps maybe be a calming presence to Angron. We don't know. I mean, it could be hypothesized. There's a 50-50 chance that maybe they would have had a good brotherhood. And once the Emperor finds them, maybe that would have been the beginning of the fracturing of their brotherhood. There still would be an understanding between the two. Angron wouldn't have the rage of losing his brothers and sisters in the mountains. But perhaps, I don't know, maybe things would be different. Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I think the girly man would have taken the whole world instead of just angry man. Yeah, exactly. Maybe.
With Angron via his ship's hololith.
Angron,
Oh, God.
why are you wasting my time?
Oh, geez. One creeper to a sociopath.
The Conqueror was attacked, Lorgar. Ugh, do you expect me to let that happen?
You were attacked by a group of pitiful Eldari dust mites that retreated as soon as you returned fire. Those ships are irrelevant. Pursuing them will serve no purpose whatsoever and will only set us back further. Let me remind you, brother, that we are already more than 28 days behind schedule because you cannot help yourself from engaging in nonsensical expeditions that accomplish absolutely nothing.
Then go on without me, Lorgar. We will dispatch the enemy ourselves and reconnect once we're finished.
Please, tell me you are joking. They are not the enemy. You are actively avoiding the enemy by chasing those ships. Gilliman is the enemy. The Emperor is the enemy, Angron. I beg of you, focus.
They are Xenos, Lorgar! And they attacked our ship. They need to be killed. If you are so concerned about this precious mission and being delayed, it would make more sense for you to simply help us instead of arguing with me.
It took every ounce of self-restraint within Lorgar not to smash his palm against his own face. But he realized that Angron was right. He would have more success arguing with a wall than he would with his brother.
Very well, Angron. I will humor you one last time. And once we are finished, there will be no more distractions. No more stopping off to set fire to backwater worlds. No more engaging Xeno gunships. No more nonsense. Agreed?
No, he's not going to agree to shit. Sorry, shouldn't swear.
Angron smiled at his brother from the hololithic display.
Sure, brother. Whatever you say.
Lotara Sarin, commanding officer of the Conqueror, wanted to end pursuit of the Eldari ships.
We're wasting our time out here.
They had been searching for 5 hours and there was no sign of the enemy ships.
Oh, she's not pretty no more.
We've been wasting our time for the past 3 weeks.
The Auspex hasn't detected anything. We don't see anything. We don't know which direction they went. These Eldar ships don't leave a warp signature. How does he expect me to follow something that leaves no trace?
Lotara knew that abandoning the search would infuriate Angron, but she didn't know what else to do. And then, she had an epiphany.
This is the only person, a human, who was able to stand up to Angron, and he never really snapped at her. Listen, that's very frightening. This woman, Lotara Sarin, scares me.
Unless
She is not wife material.
we don't follow them at all. They only attacked us once we were alone, after we charged ahead of Fidelitas Lex. Maybe they thought we were vulnerable. Let's see if we can bait them into attacking us again.
With this theory in mind, Lotara decided that attempting to bait the Xenos was a better plan than flying aimlessly around in space. The Conqueror jetted out into the void alone, and it wasn't long before Lotara's plan came to fruition.
Enemy ship approaching.
The 3 Eldari ships resurfaced and were now approaching the Conqueror. The enemy ships flanked the Conqueror from multiple sides, but their attacks failed to breach the void shields. Unlike last time, the Conqueror was well prepared for the Xenos. The World Eater's flagship blasted towards the Xeno ship at full speed. She was going to stop them in their tracks and allow Angron to board their ship to deal with them personally. In a nod to Angron's gladiatorial heritage, the Conqueror was equipped with a unique weapon, the Ursus Claws. Spear-shaped lances the size of smaller escort vessels would be fired at enemy ships, puncturing their hulls. Once they had breached the ship, they would activate their strong magnetic elements, preventing their enemies from evading. Lotara ordered her crew to fire the Ursus Claws at the Eldari flagship, and the spears shot clean through the hull.
Come on. Get the dirty Eldar. I mean, I'm sorry. Now, come on, Eldar. You got to kill Angron. I know.
Xenos realized that they were about to be captured and attempted to flee, but it was too late. The magnets activated and the Eldari ship was locked in place.
I believe she's a brunette.
As the Conqueror pulled the ship closer with its barbarous spears, the word-bearers Fidelitas Lex broke through the void and prepared to board the enemy craft. And Lotara smiled as she received Vox confirmation that Angron and Lorgar had boarded the ship. To no one's surprise, the Eldari on board stood no chance against the 2 Primarchs. As the 2 brothers hacked and sliced their way through the Eldari corridors, they couldn't have been more different in their approaches. Lorgar was slow, methodical, and calculated as he surveyed his surroundings and identified his prey. Angron sprinted like an unchained beast, bellowing as he swung his axe in a turbulent rampage. Lorgar could see momentary flashes of bliss in his brother's crazed eyes each time he ripped through another resisting Xeno. Yet these brief moments of happiness would almost immediately regress into bouts of rage as Angron searched for his next victim. Lorgar had suspected it for many years, but watching his brother up close and personal confirmed it. Angron was dying. Anytime he wasn't spilling blood or raising a city, the nails would punish him by hammering violently inside of his head.
Oh.
Angron's eyes twitched and the blood ran from his nose as he stalked down the corridor.
Foolish
The
fool.
Eldari resistance was pitiful, almost as if they had already accepted their fate. Their attacks barely made dents in the ceramite armor of the Primarchs, and they didn't even bother retreating as the giant warriors closed in on them. Angron and Lorgar had cleared out the ship in no time, and all that remained was the bridge.
These Xenos make me sick.
The Eldari aesthetic was on full display on the ship's bridge. The Xeno inscriptions and the pungent alien odor was overwhelming. One Xeno remained on the ship, and Lorgar stood by as Angron approached him, dragging his axe on the floor as he walked.
Let us get this over with, brother.
I'll take care of this one myself.
Angron was within striking distance of the Xeno when he suddenly began speaking in Low Gothic.
Monkai scum. You may kill me, but this is not over. We will never allow you to reach your destiny upon the Skull Throne.
The nails were thumping so hard in Angron's head that he couldn't have heard the Xeno even if he was trying to listen. Lorgar was stunned. He tried to speak, but the words were stuck in his throat, still trying to comprehend what he had just heard.
You will die, Monkai, before you can ever become the son of the Blood God.
The Blood God? What did you just say?
Oh, you had to open up your stupid mouth.
Those fateful words were the last to ever leave the lips of the Xeno, as Angron's axe fell and swiftly ended his life. It had taken longer than Lorgar anticipated, but they had finally arrived. The Shadow Crusade was about to begin. Calth was the first. Its planetary defense grids were bombarded with scrap code, leaving the world vulnerable to attack. Kor Pharon led the assault, first crashing ships into the planet, then bombarding it with void ship lances and storming the surface with word-bearer titans and super-heavy tanks. And in conjunction with the attack on Calth, Angron and Lorgar were making planetfall on Armatura. Lorgar had spent a considerable amount of time planning the attack on Armatura, but everything changed as soon as their drop pods crashed onto the planet's surface.
Yep, Angron would somehow screw it all up. I stopped myself from saying the F word.
The word-bearers were organized, tactical, and communicated every step of the way as they began executing the details of their plan. The World Eaters were a complete mess. Almost as soon as they had landed, they became lost to the nails and separated from their assigned battle groups. The Ultramarines on Armatura quickly realized that the absence of discipline from the World Eaters was a tactical advantage. They began baiting the World Eaters into battle, and then detonated buildings as they charged towards them, crushing massive groups of them under the rubble. The Word-Bearers, witnessing their brother Legion abandon all discipline, opted not to support them when they called for reinforcements, fearing that they could be walking into a death trap. The battle in Armatura was eventually won, but it came at a high cost. Countless World Eaters were killed, Titans were destroyed, and even Angron himself nearly died under the weight of a collapsed building. Now, more than ever before, it was painfully obvious. The Butcher's nails were destroying the World Eaters. With Armatura now in ruins, Lorgar's plan to destroy Ultramar was almost complete. During the Battle of Calth, Erebus unleashed a ruin storm, a massive warp disruption. The warp storm grew in size and strength, feeding off the souls of those that were slain throughout Ultramar. Aboard Fidelitas Lex, Lorgar was revealing the final step of his plan to Angron.
As we destroy Guilliman's empire, there is one last world that must be killed. A world on the fringes of Ultramar.
See, there you go. Nuceria. Nuceria.
Once this destruction occurs, it will feed into the ruin storm, and we will have constructed a barrier, a wall of dead worlds and warp energy. The Imperium will not be able to save Ultramar. No one will know how to get in or out, except for us.
May I assume that you will get to the point and tell me what this world is?
Oh, Angron, your impatience never ceases to amuse me. But of course, brother.
Lorgar turned back to the hololithic display, observing the wall of dead worlds and the warp storm running across the length of Ultramar. He pointed to a tiny sphere on the display,
Maybe there's a cameo. I don't know. Why do you ask?
Just outside the edges of Ultramar.
The killing blow will be dealt here, on Nuceria.
Angron was completely silent as he stared at the display. Then he turned his head and looked at Lorgar.
I am not going back to Nuceria.
There is no other way to seal Ultramar off from the Imperium, brother.
Of course there is. There are countless worlds outside of Ultramar's borders that could accomplish the same thing. I will never return to Nuceria.
These other worlds you speak of, they will not work for this purpose.
Why won't they work?
You are just going to have to trust me, Angron.
No! 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 Are you doing this just to torment me? You know I swore never to return to Nuceria. Tell me now, Lorgar. Why Nuceria?
To save you. To end your torment. To free you from the nails.
It's impossible, Lorgar. Removing them will kill me.
Maybe. Maybe not. Keeping them in your head is killing you all the same. The Nucerians...
See, now, you'd think that he'd be happy to go to Nuceria, because then he'd get his vengeance.
Created the Butcher's Nails. If anyone in the galaxy knows how they were created, they will be on Nuceria.
You lied to me. Fed me this drivel of building a barrier.
I did not lie to you. Taking Nuceria will close Ultramar off from the rest of the Imperium. It must be done. But I am also going to save you, Angron. At least, I am going to try.
Here we go. Here we go.
The Conqueror, followed by a fleet of ships, landed in the Deshelica Mountains. It had been more than a century since Angron was last on Nuceria, but even after 100 years, they were still there. The bones. The remains of Angron's fallen eaters of cities. Angron stood solemnly, and tears slowly ran down his face. In all the decades of time spent together, Karn had never witnessed Angron shed a single tear. But Angron's moment of vulnerability was nothing more than that. A single moment. The nails thumped in Angron's head, harder than they ever had before.
This is where it all began. And where it should have ended.
Damn.
You deserved better, Angron.
Angron drew his chainsword, staring down at Deshea from the mountains.
The High Riders. Those bastards.
And our father. He could have saved your warriors. All of these bones. They could have lived.
Angron was shaking now, the nails slamming in a deafening crescendo.
Deshea must burn, Lorgar. This entire world needs to burn.
Lorgar remained stoic, but inside, he was ecstatic. Everything was going according to plan.
Oh, no. Hey, everybody, here's where I set up a good impression with Angron. Everybody get ready for this.
The World Eaters and the Word Bearers breached the gates of Deshea. Kingard's soldiers watched as they marched through the city. They were confused by what they were seeing, and they conveyed this message to the Praxery of Deshea.
We're not under attack.
No, Lord, but they are within the city walls.
Hey, who's that handsome voice there? No, Lord, but they are within the city walls. Oh my goodness, a kin guard soldier. We should call it a kit guard soldier.
There are thousands of them.
What are they doing?
I don't know, Lord, but I think they're coming here.
Before the Praxery could respond, the throne room door swung open. The two Primarchs entered the room, followed by ranks of World Eaters and Word Bearers. And the room fell silent.
Forgive my ignorance. I have been away for many years. Who is the ruling family?
The boy sitting upon the throne didn't say anything, instead letting a kin guard soldier standing to his left speak for him.
The ruling family is House Thalkir, sir. Is there a matter which we can assist you with?
Thalkir.
All eyes were on ANGRON as he approached the throne.
I haven't heard that name in many years.
Who are you?
The soldier said,
Oh, why are you speaking? Stupid man. Stupid fool. Don't worry. I'm pretty sure Angron and me are going to become best friends.
in shaking fear.
The last time I stood on this planet, I was also called Thalkir. Angron Thalkir.
Angron? That's impossible. He couldn't still be alive. He fought in the Chelka Mountains nearly 100 years ago. He ran away from the battle. He left his army to die.
No.
Ran away.
The soldier tried to speak, but was overcome with terror and couldn't form a single word. Angron grabbed the soldier by the head, lifting him up with one hand.
Left my army to die!
The nails had taken control.
Oh,
Angron
no.
squeezed the life out of the soldier. The Prax.
Now, yes, that was my actual voice, and I did 12 different takes on that with the directors listening to my screams, to which I would get a knock on the door saying, "Hey, kid, is everything okay?" Yes. This was... Well, that can't... Hey, it was a head-crushing experience. You could say it blew my mind. You could say that my... You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Oh, yeah. And after that head-splitting decision, let's just say it's the last one. So, yeah, I actually... It was during the summer of 2024, and I really enjoyed doing this voice acting gig. It really helped me out, especially during... I've been battling with a little bit of some depression and sadness, and doing this really put a smile on my face. It meant a lot. It meant a lot to do this, and I was happy to do the voice. And it was really funny when my neighbors said, like, "Hey, is everything fine?" It's like, no. I'm just voice acting, audio recording. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it.
All eyes were on Angron as he approached the throne.
I haven't heard that name in many years.
Who are you?
The soldier said in shaking fear.
The last time I stood on this planet, I was also called Thalkir. Angron Thalkir.
Angron? That's impossible.
No.
He couldn't still be alive. He fought in the Chelka Mountains nearly 100 years ago. He ran away from the battle. He left his army to die.
Ran away.
The soldier tried to speak, but was overcome with terror and couldn't form a single word. Angron grabbed the soldier by the head, lifting him up with one hand.
Left my army to die!
The nails had taken control. Angron squeezed the life out of the soldier. The Praxery and his defense force gasped as Angron tossed the corpse to the ground.
Well, that's it for me.
Nuceria will be destroyed.
Kill them
There
all.
will be no survivors.
The 12th and 17th Legions moved quickly, leaving each city on Nuceria in ashes and wreckage. They had spent 6 days ravaging the surface. Lotar Sarin was given specific instructions not to bombard the planet. Angron wanted to handle this himself. The Shea was the first to fall, and they systematically killed the remaining cities one by one. Mehor was the only one that remained, but before the final battle could even begin, a warship broke through the warp and floated in orbit above Nuceria. Courage Above All was piloted by the Ultramarines.
Ultramar for life!
They were seeking revenge for the savagery that had been inflicted on Ultramar. The World Eaters and Word Bearers brought down the walls of Mehor and began a devastating assault on the city.
Come on, Blueberry boys!
Those that weren't crazed by the nails took cover and established primary battle positions. They knew it wouldn't be long before the 13th Legion drop pods rained down from the sky. What began as a simple assault on the only remaining Nucerian city had quickly transformed into an all-out war. Ultramarines flooded from massive lander ships and the 13th Legion drop pods. An entire fleet of ships had followed Courage Above All, and a void battle was raging above the surface war.
Beautiful.
The Word Bearers, Fidelidus Lex, was killed, and it crashed down off the Nucerian coast, sending a tidal wave 4 stories high crashing over the city.
Oh.
As the Ultramarines and the two traitor legions engaged each other, Gilliman confronted Lorgar in a decimated city street.
Traitor!
Lorgar drew the Illuminarium, the weapon that Ferrus Manus had crafted for him long before the heresy, and the two Primarchs battled with strength and ferocity beyond the comprehension of mere mortals.
Count! Armatura! Erith 5!
Gilliman screamed the names of the dead Ultramar worlds as he swung his sword.
You shouldn't have come here, Robute. You are going to die on this backwater world.
Not so fast, hotshot.
Behind them, Titans clashed and traded cannon blasts. Gunships exploded overhead, and the 13th Legion lander ships avoided the flooded coastline as they continued to provide support. As the two demigods fought, Angron threw himself into the middle of the battle, with a bandolier of skulls forming an X on his chest.
Pitiful to see two of my brothers become heretics.
I'm not your brother, Rabute. I never was.
Oh.
You landed on a paradise world with everything given to you. I landed in a slave pit with everything taken from me. I had my brothers and sisters ripped from me, left to die alone.
You could have overcome your past, built a better future for your sons, but those hate engines in your brain ruined you.
Yes.
Turned you into this.
Angron knocked Gilliman off balance with a forceful blow.
Come on, Gilliman.
And Gilliman recovered to match Angron with a strike of his own. As Gilliman's fist connected with Angron's face, one of the skulls around Angron's neck flew to the ground. Gilliman took a step and crushed the skull beneath his foot. The skull of one of Angron's fallen brothers. This was the defining moment of the battle, and Lorgar knew it. This moment here was why Lorgar had come to Nuceria. As Angron howled in rage and swung his chainsword at Gilliman, Lorgar began chanting in an ancient, alien language.
Oh no.
The power of the warp became a tangible force. The sky went dark and blood rained down from the blackened clouds. Lorgar never stopped chanting. A blinding ray of light beamed down from the sky, and a deafening wall of sound washed over the dying city. Gilliman lay on his back, bones broken and bloodied from Angron's wrath. He watched as Angron began clawing at his own face, screaming horrifically into the sky. The blood poured down even harder. Where Angron once stood was now a hulking mass of flames. Metamorphosis. Ascension. Beneath the blaze, Angron's skin was gone. Nothing but inhuman, molten gore remained. Gilliman and the Ultramarines that were now retreating We're witnessing the death of a Primarch and the birth of a demon prince.
Bear witness to his ascension. He has arisen. Angron, the killer. Angron, the murderer. Only then one day to be taken out by the angel, another angel of death, Sanguinius. But that, my friends, is the story for another day.
Blood. For the
blood god. Skulls for the skull throne. Let the galaxy burn.
Is he in pain?
Yes.
What did you do?
I saved him.
Are you sure
The
about
man
that?
who was once the Warhound's captain of the 8th Assault Company approached the door to the hall where Angron remained. Karn stood outside of the door and quietly spoke to himself under his breath.
I've done this before. He trusts me.
Hey, listen, Karn, Mago is right. You were stupid.
Karn opened the door and slowly walked down the stairs. The sound of the demon's breathing was all that Karn could hear.
Karn,
Oh.
I need you to do something.
Anything.
You and your brothers gather 300 souls and take their skulls. Build me a throne.
Oh. Well. That's pretty much it. This was great. This was a lot of fun. So, great cast of characters, and it was really good to work with all these wonderful, beautiful people. Hey, yo, there's me. First of all, shout out again to Warrior Tier, and thank you so much, Warrior Tier, for having me be part of this wonderful production. And the fact that I'm listed on IMDb means so much. That is actually so cool that I'm on IMDb now, and this is what I could reference as one of my accomplishments. And it really was awesome, and it did in many ways help cure a little bit of my sadness and depression that I was dealing with, especially last year, still dealing with a little bit now. But for those who are watching for Chicago Reacts, if you guys want more live streams, let us know. Type your thoughts in the comment section below. We love to engage with our wonderful viewers and subscribers here for Chicago Reacts. As you all know, what counts as a view now, especially for all the videos that are now being done on YouTube for all content creators, definitely like, comment. Please put in a comment because it does count as a view for the algorithm and rhyme. Hit the like button and share our content on social media. If you're a patron supporter for Chicago Reacts, let us know what your thoughts are. And apologies for yesterday, because yesterday we were supposed to do a live stream. Unfortunately and regrettably, ComEd had to take out all the power in my neighborhood and adjacent neighborhoods. So we were without electricity for about good 2 hours. So, hey, one of the unfortunate things that happened. Nothing I could do to fix it, but I am very happy about how this all turned out. And so feedback is important. Let us know. Chicago Reacts community, as you all know, we have a Discord. So please be sure to join our Discord. Check out all of our other videos. And as always, folks, please support the original content creator, because without all you lovely, beautiful people, we would not be here. Chicago Reacts, ow, my head, of course. Now, Rhinosaurus says, Angron, the eternal slave of corn, only to be defeated by the angel. Mastermind Hour, so lovely to see you. Adaptus Freemanicus, so great to see you as well. We got VJ, Vidj, good to see you. Good to see you. And I believe that is it for everyone here that's been watching our live reaction. To you, our viewers and subscribers, please be at peace. Have nothing but love for you guys. And until then, drink water, take good care of yourselves, keep your heads on a swivel, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. My name is Kit. This is Chicago Reacts. And I'll see all you lovely, beautiful people on the flip side. Take care, and I am going on out on the Fury Road.